you read.
Voted as one of the top 10 most outstanding young leaders in Nigeria in 2015, Prince Joshua Oyeniyi, the convener of the Ambassadors Summit Africa, learned from his background to be an inspiration to many youth across West Africa and the continent of Africa. He is a global citizen, a youth leader, social entrepreneur, broadcaster, author, and minister of the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, whose milestone achievements in the areas of youth development and engagement have contributed immensely in helping youth to thrive and lead a successful life via creating platforms for them. He holds a certificate from Jolly University in USA and a pre-MBA from the Business School of Netherlands, Nigeria. He is winner of the Global Student Entrepreneur Award in Nigeria, West Africa, and the Global Finalist Award winner in Washington, D.C., USA in 2015. A Tony Elumelu Foundation Grammy Award fellow, he got nominated by the Future Awards Africa as a fourth Foundation Prize finalist for youth employment, winner of the Under 30 Achievers Honor Personality of the Year, a U.S. Consulate Good Governance Ambassador, President of the Barack Obama Young African said about 10 Nigerian presidential aspirants in September 2018 with live streaming to over 80 countries of the world at his annual conference, the Ambassadors Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Joshua Oyeniyi.
Okay, guys, so I want to know if we're able to hear it. I don't know. People were saying that the audio was screeching. I don't know. So can you hear me now? Okay. So we'll just have the guest come on board and he's going to be the one to have the stage, and we hope that this audio is going to get better. Okay? Hello, Joshua.
Yes,
Good
hello.
afternoon and good to have you here. I don't know if you can also hear me clearly. They said it's screeching over at their end.
I can hear you.
Okay, is it echoing?
Actually, it is. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, but let's just have you on board.
Okay.
Okay, so the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. Um, Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to the amazing people who are actually connected to the Young and More Africa conference. It's a privilege to be able to present a few thoughts on the subject matter of negotiating for global dominance. My name is Joshua Oyeniyi. I am a committed Nigerian. I'm committed in Nigerian projects, but at the same time, I consider myself a global citizen. Not because it's a used cliche, but because that's the way I've always seen myself. Not at least since some 5-7 years ago, when I entered the space of self-development and the passion to reach out and grab the stars, as they were. All right, so because of the people who I know are connected because they want to share, they want to learn experiences, they want to share, they want to share their experiences, and at the same time, gather some quality thoughts from others who they believe have been able to contribute meaningfully to both lives and the lives of other people, I would like to be very experiential in my uh, treatment of the topic. All right, so I would like to share my own experiences. I would also like to provide some values that I believe helped me while I was trying to negotiate my uh, my place, in the global space and the global stage. All right, so 2007, I got admission into the University of Lagos as largely a very introverted young man. Not necessarily introverted, as people use it, but I was just very reserved. And for so many people feel okay because of my temperament, there's very little I can do. I can't engage. I can't speak. I can't do that. I think I would be able to address that constituency very well this afternoon. All right. So, but just taking a little bit, back my story. I also need to say this because some persons may think there was nothing challenging before that time. You just got into the university and all that. I had a father who was married to three wives, and all three wives and himself were not educated. And then I was number six in that family of about 12 kids. And so I came in to meet a family that was struggling with almost everything, struggling with finances. Uh, the man was a taxi driver in Lagos, who was just trying to make a living and take care of his large family. I wouldn't know what to inform this decision to have a large family, but there's things I could have done about it. I was only produced. All right, so I had all the disadvantages you can talk about for a essential young man born in Africa. Was it educational challenges? I had them. I didn't start school on time. Was it financial? Oh no, I saw poverty eye to eye. I was born in Nigeria. I wasn't even privileged to be born, in the four walls of a hospital. I was born in a traditional birthplace. So there were every factor, all the factors that you could think would militate against an aspiring young man from Africa. I had them, working against me as you can count. And so to make matters worse, I also wasn't the talking type. So, and we have this adage, the Nigerian parlance that says if you keep quiet, your problems keep quiet with you. So you have challenges, and then those challenges you can't even tell what you're going through. You can't even explain. You can't share your challenges. You're in for it. So you're in for it. So, but I got into the University of Lagos on merit because I I had a mom who believed so much in education, and so despite the fact that she didn't get so much of it, she believed we just needed to go to school. We just needed to go to school. So the very first thing I want to say as a value and as a very important factor in your negotiation for dominating the global stage, or for at least having a stake on the global stage, is some level of education. Some level of education. All right. So for my secondary school, I was privileged to also have somebody who believed too much. Okay, you know what? Let him start, with us. It wasn't so much of a big school, big private school, but we started, with that, and that helped us to begin to appreciate the value of education. And because I would always read and study, coming tops of my class was just, natural for me. I was just coming top of the class, but I always loved competition. I always loved to be able to challenge people to say, I want to be this, I want to be that. You can put it, you can say and I'm ambitious. So that also informed my decision to always want to go for the top, go for the best, strive for excellence in everything that it is that I set my hands on and set my heart to do. And so it was quite challenging. And so when I was about 14, I'm just trying to take you through a little bit of the story, and then I get you back to some of the things, that I began to do. And so when I was about 14, 15, I lost my dad. And so when he died, it was for me like I'd lost all the covering I had as one of the only two sons. So there was so much responsibility. I was figuring out how to. So at the time, I just wanted, no matter what it is, I was in JSS 3, but no matter what it is, I must, complete my secondary education. Let me at least use that, as a target because there were so many challenges. But um, grace is also largely essential part of my story. And so I eventually did finish secondary school, and the year I finished, I gained admission of merit into the University of Lagos to study chemical engineering. My father told me I want you to study petroleum engineering so that you can eat oil money. That's how you put it. So you can eat oil money, make a lot of money, and all the but I eventually, studied, went into for chemical engineering before Providence would have me, enter the department of mathematics. So something happened. While I was at the university, I still had, those limiting factors. The mind. One of the limiting factors you must work against as a young man from Africa, because I want to be addressing people who are, because a lot of my friends and people out there now are watching from different parts of the world and different parts of Africa. So I don't want to just look at it from the Nigerian context. So a lot of the challenges that you would have to deal with first as an African is conquering the limiting mindset. You know, that tells you you can't do this because of this. You can't do this because of this. You can't do this because of this. So there are so many things. You want to research the internet. Your mind tells you, what you need an amazing, data speed. And so you tell yourself, okay, because I don't have it, let me just stay where I am. Or because you want to be able to access some level of education and you don't have the funds, you tell yourself, what, I'll just take whatever is available for me, or just stop at where I've reached, and that's the end. But you must conquer, that mindset that tends to limit you, that tends to bring you below, and just makes you feel there is nothing more that you can do to help yourself. So I told myself right from time when I set the vision statement for myself many, many years ago that I wanted to be somebody of high resource, of high value, such that anywhere I go, by the time I present myself and present my ideas or present my thoughts, I would be reckoned with. I'll be a force that cannot be pushed aside. And I also told myself that I want to be able to develop my capacity. I want to be able to build residual knowledge. So first and foremost is you must acknowledge the fact that education is key in your drive to conquer your space and be able to conquer the world. Number two, you must, understand and conquer the concept of limiting mindset. Your mindset, determines how far you see, determines how far you go. And so that is very important. And then the next thing is beginning to build capacity. So one of the things that I did so well up, for many years, and I still do, is reading. Now, when I say reading, some people think it's about, opening a book and reading that book and that's all. Yeah, that's good. Read a lot of books. I wasn't in the art class, but I read several books and novels from The Gods Are Not to Blame, to the Joys of Mother, several such books like that. But you need to go beyond just reading books for getting knowledge to reading books reading both books, journals, magazines, newspapers, and several other things that can make you can stretch your mind. You need to stretch your mind. I told myself, I don't want people to feel that what has he said? They must learn something. So one of the things I built and developed myself on was creating that genius within with information. And that led me to begin to write. So because I'd read so much, I was just reading so much at the time, and the only way I could relate what I understood was in writing. That's why I began to write. When I got into the University of Lagos, I picked the pen and I started writing. Mind you, at the time I wasn't speaking, but I was writing. And then I was writing for local press clubs and all of that. And somebody said, what are you doing? Nobody's listening to you. Nobody's reading what you're writing. But I kept at it. I kept it. So you must also be aware of detractors. There are people who will not believe in your goal when it's small. But by the time the world is giving you attention, they'll be singing your praise. Oh, they say, yeah, that's the guy. I used to know him when he was starting out. But they never gave you a chance. So you must, shut yourself to the naysayers. You must shut yourself, away from people who don't believe in big dreams when it starts small. And so that was what I did. When people told me it wasn't going to be worth it, I just kept writing. And then, out of the blues, a national daily came along and said, "You could be writing for us." And I started writing for them. And from that, you know, I became a well celebrated writer. I mean, at the point I wrote for virtually all the topmost newspapers we have in Nigeria. You can name them from uh, Punch newspaper to the Daily Independent, to the Nation, to the Guardian, and all of that. It got to a peak in 2013, I think it must be, when I had to write an open letter to the president. President Jonathan was then the president, and it was phenomenal. The way the whole world, the whole country came to acknowledge, that piece of writing. It was published by the Punch and picked up by several other tabloids. And people were asking, who is that gentleman that wrote, this amazing letter, open letter to the president? So that also got me about 2 million viewership and readership in less than 2 days. It was amazing. It was phenomenal. So I understood that the power of reading helps to transform your mind and gives you a voice, even when and where you are not physically present. And so from that, I decided it was time to give a thought to speaking. You want to be able to dominate your space, you want to be a leader of some sort, you must be able to express your thoughts articulately and intelligently. You must be able to speak. So what I decided to do was, I know I wasn't, given to speaking, it wasn't my thing, but what I told myself was I was going to give myself a try. So at the university then, I remember it was in 200 or 300 level it was, when I saw this signpost in front of the University of Lagos Faculty of Science, building that says if you want to give a try to the university debate, you need to go register at the departmental level and all that. I told myself I was going to give this a try. There were challenges. I'm making this statement. There were challenges because there would always be challenges when you want to move to the next level. It won't come in comfortably. You're not going to feel it's a cruise. So at the time, I was still struggling to go and teach somewhere on the island. I'll go and take some private classes and then come back to the university and take my classes and do my assignments and, take care of myself. I was almost self-sponsoring. So it was very difficult, but I told myself I would do everything it takes, even if I would have to go out of my way. So I did some funds to get some research done, and I went to meet the professor. I said, Prof, I would like you to give me some funds. I want to put in for this contest. Like I told you, I always, do love competition. And that's informed my choice for Unilag anyway. So I love it when, you have to compete with me, or I have to put my knowledge and intelligence to the test, because I believe that I do have some form of intelligence. So that was what I did, and thankfully I came tops in that speaking contest at the faculty level. It was big for me. I told myself, oh, really? So if I could do this at the faculty level, then, I think I could do better. So I went on from there to speaking at the university, the faculty debate at the university. That was big. At the time, the faculty debate, which is the university debate in the University of Lagos, is a big deal. I mean, the entire university declares that day, lecture free, and then you have thousands of students coming to the main auditorium to listen to you. You have the vice chancellor, you have all the deans, you have amazing people, you have national television. So it was quite big. And anything that happens in Lagos State of Excellence is always taken globally. So we were streamed live, we were talking to the world, we were sharing our thoughts. And that for me began my foray into the public space. And from there, I went to an event, much later, and I saw that this event was quite big, and I wanted to learn. First Bank of Nigeria had invited somebody to come in from the US by the name Dr. Willie Jolie, coming from the US to come speak to undergraduates. I told myself I would go to this event, I would go and learn what it takes to be able to beat against all odds and become a success. So I went to the event and I invited a few folks. Now, one of the things I also want to share as a strategy, all right, for dominating your space is attending value-based events. Value-based events. It's highly related to networking. You cannot but give attention to attending. I've met some amazing people at some of these events. And by going to events, you're able to network. From sitting beside somebody, you are making some exchanges, you're talking, you're sharing experiences or sharing some background. And before you know it, you get to know about the person and you're sharing experiences. But guess what? You're already networking. You're already networking. And so I went to that event as just a participant at the University of Lagos Main Auditorium as well. I just sat there, there were several thousands of people. And, the Nigerian top artist, Davido, was, backstage waiting to do his thing. And so when the speaker was done, the American speaker was done, it gave room for some persons to come and ask questions. And then when he did that, I was compelled by, a sibling that I'd also invited to come to the event. I was compelled by her to reach out and ask questions. And I said, okay, let me give it a shot. There were several people, but luckily as I reached my hand, I got selected. I got selected. I stepped out and I said I was going to ask my question. And the MC said, funnily enough, sorry, I know I selected you, but I changed I changed the model. And right now, the first three persons to come up stage, those that I'm going to give audience to ask their questions. And I said, no way. I said, no way. I said, no. I stood there and told the MC I was going to ask my question because I believe that person is important to my destiny. And the MC was saying into the mic, excuse me, I'm the MC. It was a very popular MC. I can't remember his name. You go to, you need to go back. And I said, no, I stood there. The audience, thousands of them were watching everything, watching the whole thing. It was silent. And then the American speaker and his wife, who were seated just in front, saw the exchange of words and said, you know what, let the gentleman up. Let the gentleman up. So I went up. When I went up, my question caught his attention because I asked him, mentorship is key. People need to succeed in Africa. You're coming from America where, people are achieving the American dream. What have you got for Africa? Is there a mentorship program? Is there a mentorship academy? And he looked at me. I said, first and foremost, I love your courage. I love your persistence. The way you stood there and said no to being shut down. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going back to the US, but this is my card. And he placed his card right in my breast pocket and said, I want you to call me when I'm back to the US because I want you to be my first African protege. I want you to be my first African mentee. That was phenomenal. I remember coming down from that stage, and then as I was walking down, just as quietly as I can, suddenly I had somebody walk up to me and then whispered into my ears. She was a young lady, whispered into my ears and said, will you marry me? And so I was shocked. I was like, will I marry you? I mean, I couldn't even answer the question. I just looked away. But much later, I realized that the reason why she did that, of course, after that time, I didn't get to see the lady anymore. I've never seen her ever again. But after that time, I realized that the reason why she did that was because she felt this guy is going somewhere, and I want to be associated with him down the line. So that for me impressed a very strong lesson. All right. If you do not ask, the answer will always be a no. The answer will always be a no. So for your goals to be achievable, you must be persistent. You know the story of Thomas Edison and several other scientists and inventors, around the world and over the age. Many of them were persistent. Many of them were consistent. They kept at it. They kept pushing until what was seemingly impossible became a possibility. I had the story of Orville and Wilbur Wright, whose father, Bishop Wright, was in a conference, and they were discussing some scientific innovations. And then they said, we believe that sometime in the future, man will be able to fly. And then Bishop Wright stood up and said, you know what? I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, and I believe God created man to do amazing things, but never created man to fly. Birds were meant to fly. But he didn't see beyond, that mindset. He didn't see beyond that, religious edge. And what happened was his two children Obil and Wilbur decided we are going to make man fly, and that's what gave birth to to the invention of the airplane. So, you need to be persistent on your goal. You need to stay on it. Like I said, the first thing is you must appreciate the importance of education. All right, you must appreciate the importance of education. You must also give yourself to building capacity through knowledge, through reading, through just keep gulping it, keep getting all of those things together. They are going into what is called a residual bank of knowledge. When the time comes, you'll find out you'll be able to deliver excellently, excellently. I remember one of the biggest tests I had, impromptu was sometime I was asked, in the public while I was an undergraduate. I'd not even, thought about going to serve. In Nigeria, there's National Youth Service Scheme, and so which is done after you must have finished from the university. And so we're asked randomly to pick some questions, pick some numbers, and I just picked the number. And then, the dean and several other people in the university, one of them read the question and said, "This is the question you have to answer." We didn't prepare for it. I didn't know anything about it before the question was asked. But the question was, "Can you tell us something about the National Youth Service Scheme and why you think it should be scrapped or left?" Out of the blues, and I had only 1 minute to speak and articulate my thoughts and be able to convince the jury that I deserve a space, on that stage. And I went into history. I started telling them what happened in 1967 and to 1970, the Civil War, and how the president of the day, General Yakubu, decided to come up with a program for national reintegration by making people serve in different parts of the country, who read or studied in different part of the country to go to serve the country in another part of the country, and also interact, exchange, and learn culture and languages, and meet the people of that local community. And by the time I was done with all of that, it was amazing. Everyone was blown, off their feet. It gave us a detailed, history and their presentation. I think we prepared for this. That came from having read quite a lot about so many things. All right. So then you must also understand that you should know how to say, to stand your ground against naysayers who don't believe in your dreams, who tell you can't do amazing things because you're an African. No. All right. So I'm going to share this story before I call it a wrap, for this session. And so after all of that, I've gone into, public speaking, and I told myself it's now time to begin to teach people with the stories and the lessons of others. Right. So I hope you're picking some bits of points from the things I'm sharing. All right. So one of the things I told myself was I needed to start talking on radio, but I didn't read mass communication. I have no background in broadcasting. So how would you do that? But somebody has been gracious enough to interview me on radio at the time. This was some 7, 8 years ago. And I told him, just help me. I need to get on radio. And he told me to write a proposal. I didn't have money. I didn't know anybody to write a proposal for me. But I told myself I would do this. I told myself I would do this. So what I did at the time was go back to my hostel and wrote a 2-page proposal. I'd learned the art of writing, business writing, narrative writing, amazing things I've learned. So these things came in handy. So you see, the skills you learn along the way, of self-development, from writing to speaking, to reading, which is actually a skill, to networking, to some values and virtues like consistency, like excellence building, and commitment to duty. All of these things have a role to play in how you emerge on the global space. So I'm sharing this background story because they gave me a leeway into my emergence on the global stage, just a couple of years afterwards. And so I wrote that, and I went in and submitted it to the head of station at the University of Lagos at the time, and said, I want to start a show. I want to be able to reach the world. I want to tell people what it takes to succeed. I want to interview amazing people from the corporate sector, from the academia. I want to engage business people. I want to interview, find out their stories. And the woman looked at me and said, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can do this? You don't have a background in this. Are you sure you can interview people? You can send a letter of invitation to a governor and it would heed your invitation? I told her, I said, yes, they will come. They will come. For many years, I held on to a mantra that it is only by faith that I've come this far. And I still hold on to it anyways. Because there were times when the only thing that you could offer somebody was just faith. Just believe that you can do it. Believe you can do it. And then you'll find out you'll be able to do it. And so, Like that. I went on to eventually begin to do what it is that I was doing at the time. There, the show. The show was amazing, amazing. I was interviewing people from different parts of the world without having a background in education. I gave birth to a business. But now let me write up a story that tells, essentially uh, my emergence on the global stage. But then, while I was doing my radio thing, um, I'd interviewed some group of people who had come to talk about a contest. And then they said this contest for undergraduate. Mind you, at the time I was an undergraduate, I was still, because of several strikes and so many things, I was still in the system. So they said, this contest for undergraduate, so you would like to be a part of it, if you want to. I said, of course, I want to. The contest is called the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. It is the world's premier and most prestigious award for young people who started an enterprise or a social enterprise while they were still undergraduates, while they were still in the university. So that was what uh, I I put in for. It was very competitive. We had undergraduates from all over the country who applied. Um, as Grace would have it, I got shortlisted into the final. When I got into the final, I met about 12 to 15 international judges from different parts of the world. It was the biggest thing that I would say, the biggest stage till then that I would say I ever was in. What happened was simply, we needed to present our business model, business ideas to these amazing businessmen. And each of them at the time was worth or was making at least from their businesses $1 million. For you to be on that jury of judges, you must be making $1 million from your personal business. So many of them were Americans, a few of them were Nigerians, one or two of them are Nigerians. So that done on me. So the Nigerians were making at the time, you know, over 250 million naira from their businesses every month, every year. And so one thing that helped me in that contest was submitting to mentorship. I'd read quite a lot, I've known quite a lot, but when you were entering a new terrain, you need to submit to those who are there, who are done. So I prepared my draft, before then. I had an amazing presentation. I thought it was the best. So I went to, a big brother who was also available there at the event. I said, look at my presentation. I believe this should win me this contest. And he looked at it about a couple hours to the start of the presentation and said, you know what, Joshua, this will not fly. You need to go remove this from your slide, go remove this. This is how to present your idea, this is how to, and all of that. I was like, oh wow, I thought I've been doing presentations all my life. And I went back, I did the modifications, I came back, I went in front of of the judges, and I told my story. I told my story. I can't overemphasize the importance of telling your story. You see what I've done today is basically sharing your story. It gives you a unique spot in the heart of your listeners. I told my story, I told you I was going, but I told them how I started, told them the drive behind what I do, to create an impact, to make a difference. And of course, I believe value creates wealth. By the time I was done, by the time I was done, you know, I was overwhelmed when my name was announced. I was just overwhelmed. I fell flat on my face. Of course, I did that because I also promised God that I know I've done my best, but I see guys on this platform who are superb, who are doing amazingly, in their areas of interest. I told him, I said, I know I've done my best, I've been diligent, but I want you to give me success. And so I cannot also divulge the place of praise and God in my story. And that also, has a very important role to play in what you become and what you do. I don't know for others, but I know for me. So I won that contest, and then one of the prizes, involved me going to represent not just Nigeria, but the region of ECOWAS on the global stage in the US. And so, it was an amazing ride. It was my first time out of Africa. They treated us like kings and queens. In fact, right from Nigeria here, they were asking us, okay, so which flights do you want us to put you on? Do you want us to give you, some places with connecting flight, or what to get to Dubai for, or what to get to Paris for, or you want to get to New York for, but the final destination was Washington. so I had several options, and I told, okay, I want to get to Dubai, and then from Dubai, I want to get to New York, and from New York, I want to get to Washington. I said, okay, that's fine. You want to see the world, we're going to give you what you want. So that happened for me, and then I found myself in the US. I found myself in the midst of several other, amazing chaps from around the world, from US itself, to, to the UK, to Canada, to Australia. They were amazing people, that were great, and it helped me to be able to understand how really to be able to share, with people from all over the world. And eventually, when I did present, my part, I realized that I've been nicknamed the most popular contestant from the Black region of the world, and it was amazing for me. I was still in my hotel room in in that city, in DC, when I got a call from somebody at the Voice of America TV, and he said to me, "I would like you to come and share with us, what you do in the US and how you're representing the African continent." And it was amazing. That was an amazing new level for me. And so since then, I also told myself, wherever and whenever I go to do share my story or do anything I have to do, I run a business called Embryo Media Global Enterprise, where we do PR and we do, we help people to share their stories, we help people to create stories and drafts that can give them amazing edge, whatever it is they kind of present to the public of the particular jury. And so that for me became something that was phenomenal for me to be able to meet and engage with many other people. And I told myself I would continue to do whatever it is that would bring me before grades. And so you must tell yourself, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to get to, and go for it. Go for it. It's been at least 3 opportunities I've had to travel to the US, 2 of which has been for speaking engagements. I was speaking in the US I was just here in Nigeria doing my thing, spreading the knowledge I have, and at the same time engaging people in nationwide conferences, conferences globally streamed. And at the end of the day, I, got somebody who reached out to me on Facebook, said, "Would like you to come to the US. We see what you do in Nigeria is amazing. Would love you to come and share your story with people from all over the world." And he told me it was the first time they were inviting somebody from outside of the US to come. And I said, "Oh, that's good. I would love to." Before you know it, I got what I needed to be in the US. And when I finished speaking in DC that year, that was 2019. I already told myself that wherever it is I go to speak, I never want to speak if you don't want me back on that stage. It was like a do or die thing. I never want to go speak somewhere and people do not want me back on that stage. There must be a reason, unless it's almost absolutely impossible for them to do it. But they will always want me to come back. So when I was done speaking, in that place, I was just stepping down the stage when somebody who came into to the event from New York ran to me and gave me a card and said, "You know what, I'm an attorney. What you did here is amazing. It's awesome. Would like you to come do the same thing in New York." So I'm going back to New York. We'll get the stage ready. You're coming to do the same thing. So a few weeks later, I was in New York speaking. I didn't plan for that. I was in New York speaking, and when I was done with that, they said, "You know what? We thought we were going to have it all at the same time, but we're going to bring you back again. We're going to bring you back to the US." And all of these trips, like I need to mention, are all expenses paid. Some of them with honorarium and amazing other opportunities. And so that also got me to return back to the US again this year, where COVID-19 had me locked down for an extra 4 months after my main speaking engagement in March. So, but it was amazing. And what I want to say to you is, this is me coming from, Ajegula in Lagos, a slum. But right now, I'm also engaging with people from all over the world, and I've not told myself that I don't have a space for them. So, but you need to build the value. You need to prepare yourself. You need to start small, start developing yourself, for that space, so that by the time you get there, you're able to make yourself proud, you're able to make your constituency proud, you're able to make your country proud, you make your region proud, whatever it is you represent, you make them proud. And then you're also feeling destiny, you're making yourself happy and you're enjoying yourself. So I would of course be willing to engage with members of the audience. If there are questions when that section is right. But for now, I would just want to say thank you so much. So Ejoma Okoye for the invitation and to every one of you who who have joined this session. It's a pleasure to be able to share my experience, and I do hope that we may be young, but I know that we are more than what we look like. And if we do our best, we'll not only be negotiating for global dominance, we will be calling the shots on the global stage. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hmm. Wow, an amazing one. Amazing, amazing. Such an amazing session, Joshua. And we were really, really glad to have you here. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are questions. Please, if there are questions, drop them in the comment section so that our guests will give replies to them. All right, quickly, let me see you. And if you got value, start dropping it in the comment section. Drop the finest emoji, drop your loveliest emoji in the comment section so that you tell our guests that you got value. And of course, take screenshots of this particular session and begin to blast his IG handle, blast everywhere so that he's going to know that you got session. Okay, guys, quickly. Let me see if you have question. Send in your question if you have question and drop your favorite emoji in the comment section. Let's go. Okay. Okay, so I'm waiting for your question, guys. Okay. So Joshua, my question says we got so much value from what you shared today, and we're really glad. We want to say thank you for honoring our invite, and of course, we know that. Okay, somebody is asking a question. Let's see how you're gonna give a reply to that question. Okay, she said, let me get the question. How can someone overcome stage fright? I think that's the question there.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
over
I
to
got
you,
it.
Joshua.
How do you become stage fright? It's no matter how experienced you are as a speaker, there will be some level of uneasiness by the time you want to take the stage. But there are techniques to dealing with that. But first and foremost, there have to be some form of pre-stage activity that you must have engaged in that will prepare you to deal with that stage fright very well. One of it, um, can we hear me? I hope you can hear me. All right. So what I'm saying is, for you to be able to deal with stage fright, you must come prepared. You must have your content ready. Because if you have your content ready, there's something that does for you. It gives you a high level of confidence. It gives you a high level of mastery. And so when you are coming up stage, you know what you want to deliver. You know what you want to say. The only things you need to overcome initially will just be, oh, okay, so that initial fright of people looking at you and you feeling apprehensive. But you take a deep breath and then just relax. Look at everyone. Look at them and see them first as friends. Doesn't matter what eyes they're looking at you with. Someone say, "Oh, they are just staring at me." Doesn't matter. Look at them, and what you see, should just be people who just want to learn from you. People who just want to tell them something that is coming from your heart. All right, but you must have the content ready. You must have built yourself. You must have built yourself, and of course, some of these things come as well with practice. You continue doing it. You don't stop. You know, you don't stop. You keep talking. You keep speaking. Practice, helps you to perfect things. I remember so many of the speaking engagements that I go to. When I come back, I look at how I performed and I tell myself, okay, you can do better with this. Okay, there was this mannerism here. Okay, there was this and all that. You keep learning. Okay, you keep learning. But importantly, find a way to share stories. When you get off stage, get a story to help you relax. It could just be a 1 minute story. For example, there's this speaker that I listen to. He has a fantastic way of telling stories. I listened to one of his content, and he said there was a day, a woman came in with two children. So the pastor, I said, Pastor, these two children have been so stubborn. They don't listen to me. They are so heady. I need you to help me with them. What do I do? And so the pastor said, you know what? Um, told the first son to stay outside, and then told the younger son to come in. And look at the younger son and said, where is God? And the boy just kept mute and was looking at him. And they asked him again, where is God? And then the boy was like, no, why is he asking me where is God? But he didn't still talk. And then I asked him again for the third time, where is God? And the next thing the young boy did was run out of that office, ran to the elder brother, and said, the pastor thinks God is missing, and he thinks we are responsible for it. And so everyone laughs. What that does for you is stories help you to relax and also helps your audience to relax. And it's amazing if you're able to find a way to always do that, at every point in time. Just a little bit of story here and there. It could just be a fact. It could be a fact. You can just tell people, you say, do you know that, because probably you're talking about, subject matter that is globally related. That tell them, do you know that there are about 400 and something thousand flights per day? Or do you know that 87 people die per second? Those things give people a lot of attention. They want to hear you, and then you feel like you are in control. You have a cruise control. So have some of those things, at your beck and call, and you find out as you proceed from there. The second minute gets better, the third minute gets better, and you build your confidence. And with mastery and consistency, like I said, if you follow that in everything, continue with consistency, you will become a better speaker. I hope that helps in addressing the question. Okay, so some of the books that helped me so much is I'll just mention one or two, but they had a lasting impact on me. The first one is Tim LaHaye's book, Why You Act the Way You Do. Oh my God, I can't tell how much that book helped me to understand myself. You need it because it helps you to know your temperament and how to harness, the strengths of that temperament, and at the same time how to curtail the excesses and the weaknesses of that temperament, so that you can be a better person. So I was able to help myself do those exercises and okay, this is what I'm good at. Oh, this is why I act this way. This is why I do like this. Okay, so if I'm able to manage this, I will be a better person. I'll be, better perceived. So why you act the way you do by Tim LaHaye was very, very helpful. And then another book that phenomenally transformed my life and my thinking about myself and what I could do was Ben Carson's Gifted Hands. So because for me, inspiration is key. I came to understand how I do things. I do things by inspiration. If you tell me you can do this, immediately my mind gets to work. Just make me feel like you believe in me, my mind gets to work. I knew that when I was in secondary school, I was in SS2, and the teacher told me, Prince, I believe you can become the best students in this school. It was one of the best schools in Lagos at the time, one of the best 10 schools in Lagos at the time, one of the best 40 schools in Lagos. I was there on scholarship. and I was seeing students who were so competitive, who were geniuses, academic geniuses, who were blasting and chewing for that maths. And I told myself, I mean, how can I compete? I know I'm brilliant, but then these guys are just out of it. So, but then this teacher told me, Joshua, I believe you can do this. I believe you can be the best student in this school. I believe you can go on to beat everyone and become an amazing scholar. That enough was it for me. I went back, I started studying crazily. I started reading crazily. And at the end of the day, I became the best student in that school. I got a scholarship. And, many years after, when I was on Voice of America TV, I could not have mentioned that woman's name on that interview that she inspired me. So inspiration also does it for. So you must know what works for you and read books in that line. All right. So that's just true for now. Team Liars, why you act the way you do, and then gifted hands by